Welcome to another edition of Delaware Valley Outdoors. Hi, I'm your host, Bob Murray. You know, if you can't go fishing, the next best thing is to go shopping for fishing tackle. I recently had the opportunity to visit the Sportsman's Center in Bordentown, New Jersey, and preview what's new and hot in fishing tackle for this season. Talk about a kid in a candy store. This is amazing. Hi, I'm Bob Murray, and this is your new edition of Delaware Valley Outdoors. I'm over here in Bordentown, New Jersey at the Sportsman's Center. A fantastic place. I mean, if you're a fisherman, a hunter, archery, any kind of outdoor sports you're thinking of, this place has it all. I was lucky enough to snag Mark Provenzano with me today to go through some of the new stuff out on the market for 95. Mark, I know we talked a little bit about that stuff. Hey, how you doing? I know you've been busy, but we're going to rush through a lot of this stuff. But
let's go.
We got to do it. Some of the stuff out today is just amazing. All the new materials, the new reels that we have here, the new lures that are out. We want to go through some of that because a lot of times, you know, when I'm doing seminars and stuff like that, and also I know you get asked hundreds and thousands of questions. Well, why this? Why that? So I want to go through some of the new stuff for 95 and show why it's a little bit better, and what's new about it and why it's good, okay? Because a lot of times new stuff is not necessarily good, which we all know. Exactly. We have some of that hidden in our tackle boxes or in the back of our closets. Yeah. Okay, let's get to some of this stuff. Well, let's do the reels first. Okay. We have this reel here.
This is a Garcia SM series for this year. Basically, we're seeing a lot of reels today that are featuring less fancy features and more functional features. Long cast spools.
So you get that longer cast.
Exactly. Much less friction from the old short squat spool.
Okay.
Utilizing much more ball bearings.
For smoother action. One of the things that we had talked about before was the balance. The old reels would give you a wiggle.
Vibration.
Now today,
somebody finally figured out, after balancing wheels on cars for years, if we balance our rotor, the reel will no longer vibrate.
So when I'm turning this, I do not feel that.
Right, and even at a high-speed retrieve, you don't have the vibration that you have with the older reels.
Okay, now this is a beautiful. I mean, look at this. This
absolutely
is
gorgeous.
Gorgeous looking reel. I know I get hooked up on some of this stuff so much I go crazy. Now we had ball bearings in here. We also have ball bearing here.
Ball bearing on the line roller.
Okay.
Most of the better reels today are featuring a hardened line roller. In some cases titanium, in this case it's hardened steel.
Because of the fact that new lines that we have out.
Correct.
And just the abrasion that going over.
Less friction on a monofilament and almost mandatory with a braided line.
Right, with the new braid lines, and we'll get to that. Now we had this counterbalance, and what would you say fishing with this? We can use this in fresh water, obviously, right?
Absolutely.
And some salt water, like.
Well, the advantage of a reel that has a lot of ball bearings is, yes, it will handle the heavier applications much better. 6 ball bearings, your points of support are on stainless ball bearings.
To be able to do some weak fish.
For weak fishing, like striper fishing, blue fishing. The drags today are getting better and better, and with a light drag, you can land an amazingly large fish on a light line, so you don't need a huge monster reel anymore.
And the drag works so much easier that you don't get that surge or anything like that. All right, that's gorgeous. Okay, now let's go down to this one here. And this is a quantum reel.
Yes, it's a quantum energy. That's an E3.
One of the things that I noticed that's a little different from this reel here was the handle. Tell me something about the handle here.
Again, we were discussing balance and feel and the reduction of vibration. One of the things that will throw your balance off the most is the fact that you only have, on some handles, one side, a single throw. Some companies are using double paddle type handles like we see on bait casting reels.
I noticed that over on the other stand that there are some double.
A lot of fishermen have shown some objection to the double handles though, because they look kind of so unorthodox compared to what they're used to seeing on spinning reels. However, this kind of blends the best of both ideas by taking a counterbalance, weighting the handle with a counterbalance. No matter how hard you spin it real hard, you'll see there's really no vibration. There's no kick out of the handle.
I also, one thing that personally, I like a handle that has some good grip to it. There are times when you go to grab that, I'm sorry, it's raining, it's cold, you miss that, and boy, you don't miss that on a hook set.
Exactly.
You have some bad days.
You need reels that'll work in any condition.
Okay, now this also has ball bearings here, and that's a big thing. When you're looking for a quality reel, you want to look for the material this is made out of is going to be the best stuff.
Exactly.
And this is very
experienced
light,
fishermen today don't mind spending money for a better quality product because they know that in the long run, it'll all come back.
It'll last
them
Okay, now we've gone from a heavier to a mid-size, and now we're going to get down to a lighter one.
This is a little deadbolt pinnacle deadbolt reel.
Okay.
This is a gorgeous reel. Just came out this year. Okay. Absolutely the tightest anti-reverse I've seen on a, on a spinning reel so far.
Let's just stop with anti-reverse. Then we got to. That's when I'm going this way. I cannot go back.
Correct. The anti-reverse is what stops the rotor or the reel itself from spinning in the opposite direction.
Okay. And one of the things a lot of guys have trouble with, when they have the lines coming off here, they stop it and there's a little loop and they don't pay attention, and all of a sudden
exactly, it becomes a big problem in a short amount of time.
Right, so this is really stopped it.
Makes the reel a little bit more trouble-free, but the other thing that it does is it gives you a lot more sensitivity in the lures that you're working.
Okay.
The loss of line, whenever you lose line backwards, you're losing sensitivity. That's a vibration you would have felt in your hand. So by having a reel that stops instantly, you have a lot better control when you're working the lure that requires a little bit more control.
When you set that bail, it's right there.
When you stop it, that's what you get.
It's right there. You're always in contact, which is real important. I mean, we don't finesse fishing or whatever you want to call it, but you really want to be able to be in contact with your bait at all times. I don't know how many times I've said that over and over in seminars, and one of the things that a lot of guys miss is that they're not in contact with, and with the reel like this. Price-wise, what do we run with
this reel runs right around $70.
Okay, so we're not talking some inexpensive material here.
No, that's that's.
But it's a quality.
There's farther to go in the upper price ranges, and there's there's definitely some.
Well, I try to talk when I talk to guys about that. You do have to pay for some of the stuff, the quality stuff, and it lasts you a long time, because you go to Canada or you go to on a trip of a lifetime, and this thing.
The reel is the least expensive part of that whole trip usually.
Exactly, and if that breaks or that fails in the middle of that big fish, you've just lost a lot of.
You feel very silly for saving that last few dollars. You
okay, now we've gone from spinning. Okay, now we're going to go over to bait casting. Okay, now a lot of guys, when I talk to them, they're afraid of bait casting. Oh, I get that bird's nest, and as we call professional overrides.
Exactly.
But, let's talk about some of these now. Okay, we have this one here. Let's go with this one. You seem to like this one.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a unique reel this year. This is a Shimano Castaic. This reel features 5 ball bearings. It has a absolutely unique feature for this year, which is an Insta-Gauge. What this reel does is it allows a bass fisherman who wants to flip or pitch, with those close cover techniques, to be able to put the reel in free spool and re-engage it immediately.
Okay, so if he's out there, he flips.
Yes, flipping is a close cover technique where you're going to pull a little line off and drop to a spot,
you're only
tight cover.
A few feet away.
Most of your strikes in those situations are going to be immediate.
Oh, right.
So you want to be able to get back on the reel immediately. With a reel like this, you're in free spool in this position, and you're in gear with this. You never have to move your hand a bit.
That does have some trouble sometimes when you flip that out and it's right there. You're like in the middle of like.
Exactly. If you have to return the handle, that's a whole extra movement you have to make. A lot of times that's too late.
I catch myself
grabbing the line.
Grabbing the line.
That's the old fly fishing mentality.
We talked a little bit about the magnets, but not magnets that we know that used to control the speed of the reel. What's in here now?
Nowadays, what we're seeing to be the more.
Did I pop it in there for you?
Yeah, okay, I got it. So you're a nail biter. You can't get those. Can't get those spawns. Magnetics are kind of falling out of favor in favor of the centrifugal systems. Centrifugal systems operate when you need them to, and they fall out of the way when you don't need them to. As the spool spins, these little weights will ride out on their shafts and contact this inner polished strand. So when the spool is in the peak of its rotation,
really going fast.
Exactly, you're getting the most force.
These move out.
Right, they move out on the end of their shaft by centrifugal force, and they provide their control. And then as the spool is decelerating, they'll return back to their position, and they're no longer providing the force. So you have cast control from the beginning of the cast to the end, and you still get your full maximum distance. Magnetics, as people have found out over the years, provide their control through the entire cast. So as the cast is slowing down, the magnets really drag it down at the end. So you lose a little bit of distance and a little bit of control. Those brakes can be, there's 8 brakes on that wheel, and you can disengage or engage however many of them as you want, depending on the size of the lure that you're going to throw.
Oh, okay. So you can really make this.
You can absolutely fine tune it.
Fine tune whatever you want.
To the lures that you prefer to throw.
Okay. Now, we're going to get to some of the new styles of reels here, which are not new styles of reels, they're old styles of reels. But what goes around comes around in fishing.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about this reel. Oh, this is a pretty one here.
Yeah, this is a Quantum Tour edition. This is a USA 300. What it features is the round style one-piece aluminum frame.
Okay, because a lot of them are that aerodynamic type.
Exactly, and those still definitely are very popular.
Right.
But a lot of fishermen, especially people who fish a lot, are leaning toward these solid one-piece reels. They're extremely strong. You're using a one-piece solid frame.
Right, that's one of the things that's come back today now is a solid one-piece frame. Yeah. Now this is made out of what, some sort of aluminum?
This is, yeah, this is aluminum. This is a casting.
So it'll hold up in any kind of weather and
it's
that
absolutely
kind of
impervious to the elements. The other thing is that it will handle a little bit heavier use than your low-profile graphite reels because there's more room for a bigger gear, basically.
Okay, so there's more strength built into the reel so it would handle the pressure.
By using castings in aluminum, they can actually finish and fit the reel much better, so your tolerances are much closer. Everything kind of fits together a little better, providing better strength and a lot smoother reel.
One thing also, the fact that a lot of going to the thumb bar right back in here. Before they used to have it over here, but now they've gone to that thumb bar. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of people about that. I recommend that because your thumb is right there. I mean, we talked about the flipping technique there. Same thing, but your hand is right, your thumb is right
You're
there.
right on the reel where you need it. Actually, a lot of these new features are showing that the reel companies are listening to what the fishermen are telling them and providing features that are no longer kind of fancy to help them sell their reels, but to help fishermen catch fish.
And that's important because if you get turned off by something like that, I don't care what happens, you're never going to use it.
You're going back to quality features and performance features.
And exactly, you can feel that in there. I mean, it's all ball bearings in here. Okay, let's go to this reel here. This is one of my favorites. I know we talked about it before, but I love this reel. Again, it's got a side plate here, small. I don't have a very big hand. It fits my hand. But tell me, what about the profile of this reel?
Well, the Garcia reels, again, a one-piece machined aluminum frame. We talk about having comfort in your hand. What most of these round reel companies are doing, Garcia especially, is insetting the reel foot about an inch or so. What that does is it drops the actual
so you can
reel
set that on
onto
the
rod. Exactly. The reel actually wraps around the rod a bit. Dropping the reel a little bit lower in your hand. The Garcia, this is an absolutely gorgeous reel. 6 ball bearings, one of the smoothest ones out. As far as casting goes, what Garcia does to make the reel cast almost effortlessly is they fix their shaft into the reel as opposed to the old style, whereas the shaft and the spool were integral, all one piece. So you were driving a lot of hardware on the cast. The shaft was spinning, there was a gear that was spinning.
So they eliminated that and just...
What they've done is they fixed the shaft and they mounted the spool on ball bearings on the fixed shaft. So on the cast, all you're really moving is the spool itself.
Well, I think when guys did this back years ago, when they got that first backlash, they couldn't figure it out. Now this has eliminated a lot of that, and it's much easier to do. And again, as we talked about all these things, it's a tool, and you need certain tools. These will work this way, but this will work in a different situation if you're spinning here or the bait casting over here.
You know, I tell people every day that, you know, a lot of times a fellow will come in with his wife and he don't understand why he needs more than one fishing outfit.
Oh, do we need lots of, but it's true because we do need different tools.
Well, what I'll usually tell him is if he was a golfer, would you expect him to go to the course with one club?
That's right.
I mean, it's hard to cover every situation.
And they do, each one does a different job.
Exactly.
Okay, now we're getting up a little bit. We're talking one of the higher price reels, but we got some nice features in this too.
Yeah, this is a gorgeous reel. This is a Shimano Calcutta. 3 bearings, again, a full aluminum frame, an infinite anti-reverse, like we talked about in the spinning reels.
There's no clunk in there.
There's no loss of power. There's no loss of control.
When I turn this handle, that's it. I'm ready.
Where that handle stops.
You're doing that, and you sit back on a fish. You got that clunk in there. No more of that, which is I really like.
Absolutely. Not only is it better for feel, but it's a lot easier on the reel itself.
Right. So it'll last longer.
Sure. You're not slamming gears together all the time. The Calcutta is probably the smoothest reel that I've had my hands on.
Yeah, it is. You can feel the smoothness of this.
That was really one of the first of the new round reels in the aluminum frames to hit the market.
We'll come back to this aluminum frame, and it's rigid too. I think that's because that doesn't flex, and this will handle salt water.
Absolutely. I personally own one of these 200s, and I use it from everything from my heavy bass and pike fishing to salmon on Lake Ontario and striped fish.
You're going to pay a little bit of money for this reel, but you can cross a lot of areas with this. When you can go from salt to heavy fresh.
For somebody like, that fishes extensively, they almost can't afford not to, to buy a better quality.
That's true,
reel.
because you do that. You start fishing real heavily, and all of a sudden they go.
Exactly.
That grinding.
Certain types of lures, if you like to fish a lot of, big crankbaits and things that pull hard on the reel all the time, you better have some gears and some bearings, or, you might buy a $50 reel 3 times,
or buy one of these.
Or buy one of those and have it,
have it forever.
For a very
and
long time.
they're fairly easy to work on, too. I know I saw some of the people coming in here to get them worked on, and there was no big deal. Just take these
quick
3
takedowns,
pins, and you can fix them, and it's not too big. I know a lot of people are afraid, oh my Lord, this is real expensive. And
yeah, well, a lot of people worry about certain companies, parts availability, but most of these newer reels now, the companies have parts available for them before the reel's available.
Right, that's probably true. Okay, we talked about the reels. Now let's talk about some of the new lures that we have out today.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start over here, and we'll just kind of move across. Each year, you and I go to seminars where the new products are introduced, and you know that more fishermen are caught by this stuff than our fish. We know that.
Absolutely
We've got a lot in our tackle boxes. Let's face it, we got them down there. A lot of guys have them in their tackle boxes. But there are certain new baits out that have really hit the market and have shown some real promise in catching lures.
Absolutely.
Whether it would be the weight of it, the finish of it, the hooks, whatever we have here, I think we'll talk some about that. Okay, we're going to start probably like the top of the water and kind of work across there, right?
Okay.
Okay, we have this lure here. It's a Chug Bug by Storm.
Yep, a new Storm Chug Bug.
Okay, what's it do?
Again, this is another situation of everything old is new again. This is basically a topwater popper. The little twist on this lure, first of all, it has a rattle built in.
Okay, and one of the things that we'll do is talk about the rattle situation later on, but all these lures, we want noise in our lures. And this gives you double, not only the fact that it's across the top of the water,
surface
but
disturbance
there's
plus
also
internal rattle.
Internal rattle.
The other thing that this lure does, a little different than a lot of other poppers on the market, this lure lays kind of tail down in the water.
So it's heavily weighted.
It's weighted more toward the rear, but what it allows a fisherman to do is work a lure like walk the dog kind of situation,
like
very much like a Zara spook.
Right.
Exactly. This lure will pop like a popper, but zigzag like a Zara spook.
So you have both of them.
Very effective. This lure came out last year, and the shells were always empty as soon as people started using them.
Okay, now, bass fish with this, is that what we're doing here? We're going to bass fish with this?
Bass,
largemouth,
pickerel,
pickerel,
this area
over top of weed beds, whatever.
Working along a weed line around flooded timber.
Okay.
I found that particular bait to be a real good windy day bait.
So you can throw it.
Creates a lot of disturbance. One good top water to use on a windy day.
That's something really good to know, because a lot of times windy and top water
don't always go together.
Okay. Rapala, some people call it tomato, whatever you want. This is new for Rapala. What is it?
Right, this is a weedless spoon,
okay.
A minnow spoon, and as you would expect from Rapala, an absolute gorgeous finish on it.
Gorgeous finish.
A little bit different shape from the old, again, this is an old idea, back around
exactly,
again.
old spoon.
A little bit slimmer profile, which gives it more of a bait fish appearance. It also allows it to come through the weeds and the lily pads much better.
Yeah, we were talking about that before, was the fact that this lure does cut through a real heavy cover quite nicely, and it's got
a
I know you can't see that, but there's a weed guard on there.
A heavy wire weed guard on it.
Yeah. Now they come in a variety of colors too. Am I correct?
Yes.
We took like a
green,
like a shad or perch type color here. Pike.
Absolutely,
pike for this one. I know pike with a pork trailer or some kind of trailer on that would be just
midsummer weed mat largemouth. Another excellent application for it.
Okay, so this is new for them though, because they just basically were into the wood baits. And the crankbaits. Okay, look at this lure here. This is
gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous. Mike, can you get a good picture of that one there?
That's a Fenwick Methods bait.
Okay.
And that's their Vibra bait.
Okay.
They've brought out a series of a whole series of hard baits, from a wobbling minnow, topwater bait.
Well, this sort of combines two things. I'm looking at. It looks sort of like a rattle trap and a crankbait and.
A little bit different shape than the average rattle trap.
Does it have rattles in it though?
Yes, that's a full rattling bait.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah, it rattles you know, pretty good. What Fenwick has done is in addition to these, you know, real incredible finishes, they have a super hard and a really attractive finish on
one of my favorite colors too, chartreuse.
Yeah, chartreuse is something you don't want to be without.
Right.
They've also utilized some internal weighting chambers in this. Basically, what they do is they've cut chambers in it for the rattle bearings to move back and forth. So on the cast, this one will cast like a bullet because
okay, so everything goes
exactly internal weighting for sync rate, for noise, and for casting ability.
Well, it gets everything for this.
It's really a it's a very simple looking plug, but if you really get into the nuts and bolts of this plug, it's kind of well thought out and pretty high tech.
And we talk about making as much noise as we possibly, so now we only have the noise of the rattles, we also have the vibration.
Correct.
Boy, so they vibrate all the way through.
The other thing that Fenwick does is they carefully tune all these lures. So
which is important too, as you know, I mean, we talk about it, but to tune that so it's running straight, I think that's the best thing.
And when you get into the heat of a fishing situation and you want to get something in the water right away and you have to stop and tune a bait, it can be a big disadvantage. If you get a bait that runs straight out of the box, it's a big plus.
Yeah, it is, because a lot of guys get confused as to which way to tune it and if I am tuning it or don't tune it.
Exactly right.
All right, now, you know, I'm a crankbait fisherman. I love crankbaits. This is amazing. Look at, Mike, I want to get the finish. Can we just get the full finish on this thing? Okay, it's got sparkles, it's got contrast, it's got flash.
It looks almost wet.
It's unbelievable. You could just take. All right, talk about this one. This is Norman, one of my favorite companies too. I don't push it, but I love their crankbaits.
Yeah, that's a hot plug. Actually, it came out late last year. That gel coat finish with the metal flake really throws a lot of light. You've ever seen those in the water? They're available in a lot of different colors, but even in clear water, the sparkles and the gel coat finish just reflect unbelievably.
So it really gives the fish something that they can hone in on. They get a little flash. I mean, we have spinner baits with the flash.
Exactly.
But now we have a crankbait that when it's wobbling through the water like that.
The vibration and the bright attraction of visual attraction of the bait, it's hard for them to miss one of those.
And I like this bait here because with crankbaits I like a good size crankbait. I'm a real pusher of. If you want one size crankbait, get another size. Get one bigger.
One bigger.
Just one bigger. That's just my own personal theory. A lot of guys will probably say, there are certain times when I want a 7A or something like that, but I like that bigger profile. I think the bigger profile for fishing really works well. And this dives real deep.
Yeah, that plug will get you down 10, 12 feet.
And that's important to get down. I mean, you want to be able to hit those rocks or weeds or whatever. And a lot of guys are afraid to do that because they're afraid to lose this plug, but that's...
Well, if you're not losing a bait once in a while, you're probably not fishing in a productive zone. But crankbaits, especially a big lip crankbait like this, if you hang it up on a log or it runs into something, if you back off on the retrieve, it'll oftentimes float itself right out. The other thing that a lot of the better lures are using is a chemically sharpened treble hook on them.
Which is important.
These have Gamakatsu hooks on them.
Very sharp.
Exactly.
And I talked about that today with the fact that you must keep those hooks sharp because that does go through weeds, hits rocks and whatever, and you should continue to sharpen them.
Exactly. Sharp hooks are our friends.
I think one of the things that came along years ago we called rubber worms, but they're not really rubber anymore. They're made out of plastic.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have some new ones here. This one here is like, we're going to talk about, it's like the hottest lure around. Like there's only like one in the whole store, and I have it right here. And there's like 10 people want to try to get this from me. But let's talk about this one. What's so special about this culprit?
Well, that's a culprit Bud Andrews Temptation rig.
And Bud Andrews happens to be here today.
He happens to be here with us today. He's from one of the big bass experts from Florida.
Right.
And he's showing us New Jerseyans how to catch big bass using this rig. Basically, this is a very, very simple idea. If you look at this in use, it seems like almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, why did I think it is, right?
It's a straight slug of plastic, very little shape or contour to the plastic, but it's very, very soft. And it's a center hook rigged worm. In other words, instead of Texas rigging
in the front of the
to make it run through the water like a snake, which if you've ever seen an actual worm or a caterpillar in the water, they don't swim like a snake.
They don't.
They kind of pulse like a caterpillar would. And that's the way this is fished. This particular type of worm, especially this temptation rig, is absolutely catching fire all over the country right now.
Right.
People are really amazed to see something that they've had in their box all these years for the most part, and just rigged a little bit differently and used a little bit differently, being so much, so effective in so many different situations.
Now, do you fish this basically like a plastic worm, weedless type thing, or do you
can rig it weedless by using a wire guard type of hook. But in most situations in open water, you can cast it along the edge of a weed line.
With an exposed hook.
With a fully exposed hook. And you don't fish it like really a plastic worm, or as you're kind of creeping it and crawling it along the bottom. This bait will work good all through the water column, from the surface to the bottom, but you allow it to settle to the desired depth, and then you start working it in slight twitches.
And I see they also have a hook here with a little...
Yes, a barrel swivel is definitely recommended with this
because of the twist.
Right.
Right.
Because of where this worm is hooked, it will tug to twist on the line.
Okay, power baits. They've been around. What's new with the power baits this year?
Well, this is a little bit new too. This is a select power bait. And basically, it has all the flavor and scent enhancers of the old power bait with a little bit more visual appeal. Now they're able to add some metal flakes and a little bit of flesh and a little bit better visual appeal to these baits.
Okay, so you still have all the scent in them.
Yes, power bait is definitely an amazing thing. I've seen fish actually eat portions of it, thrown in almost like fish food, and they'll actually come and eat it.
Again, here we got contrast, dark, light, same type of thing.
Correct.
But a lot of guys will ask me about the power baits versus this bait, and it's true that these will, if there's a fish that kind of sort of maybe wants to hit, you put that in there, you definitely got a better chance at doing something.
The other thing about it is when the fish are a little bit lethargic and off their feet a little bit, especially when the water's cold, they might pick up a bait and drop it quickly, whereas with a power bait, they'll pick it up, and it's enough tasting like food that they'll hold on to it for a while and give you a little bit better opportunity to set the hook.
That's important. Here's some of the new products for this season. We'll see you again on Delaware Valley Outdoors.